What's going on, guys? It's Zach here. Bring you guys another fantasy football video. This will be the second start-sit video of the week. In the previous video, I went over the matchups between the Chargers and Raiders, Vikings and Bengals, Steelers and Colts, and then the Broncos and Lions. So if you want any sort of insight onto those games, feel free to go check that video out as well. I highly recommend that you watch all three videos that I'll be putting out this week because I wanted to go a little bit deeper in each matchup and give you guys as much insight into each start-sit decision that you could have. So this will be the second video. I'll cover the next 6 games. So I'll go over Giants, Saints, Bears, Browns, Falcons, Panthers, Buccaneers, Packers, Jets, Dolphins, and then Chiefs, Patriots. And then tomorrow I'll go over the remaining 6 games as well. So we've got 6 games today. You got 4 yesterday, and you'll get 6 tomorrow as well. So highly recommend you watch all 3 of them, but it should be really helpful in terms of helping you guys get your lineup set. Because obviously this is the playoffs. We want to make sure we're getting our things set as possible, and want to make sure that we do everything we can to win those championships. So as always, if you guys do have any specific start-sit questions, just let me know in the comments. I'll do my best to get back to you. I responded to every single comment so far this year, so I promise I'll get back to you and get you guys some insight and hopefully get your lineups all set and get you guys some dubs this week. So I really appreciate you guys watching these videos, and it should be a lot of fun this week. So yeah, let's just get into the first game here. So starting things off with the Giants at the Saints. I think for the Giants, it's pretty easy. Saquon Barkley is going to be a top 12 play for me, and I just honestly think you should sit everyone else. It was really encouraging for the Giants to see Tommy DeVito and this offense move the ball, and that does really raise the floor for Saquon Barkley quite a bit. They're actually getting some plays on the other side of the field. So Saquon actually ended up with 2 rushing touchdowns last week. He had 1 rushing touchdown in the entire season before last week, so I wouldn't expect another 2 rushing touchdown performance, but he is going to be the focal point of the offense. He'll see a ton of volume. He's a talented player. He'll catch passes out of the backfield. He's always got a good shot to score. So Saquon's a top 12 play for me. The Saints are not a matchup that necessarily scares me. The Panthers were able to run them relatively effectively last week, and the Giants are a little bit better, at least on offense. So I expect Saquon to have a really good game here, but I just don't think you can play anyone else in this offense. I can't honestly sit here and tell you which wide receiver would end up having the good game. Obviously, Wan'Dale Robinson came through last week, but we saw Jalen Hyatt with the big game 2 weeks ago. We've seen Darius Slayton come through. Isaiah Hodgins could be involved. Darren Waller could return from IR as soon as this week as well, but I'm not going to do that either. I just don't want to trust anybody in this offense that's not like an established piece, and the only established piece here is going to be Saquon Barkley. So it's Saquon and nobody else for me for the Giants. And then for the Saints, I think it's pretty easy for me too. I think Alvin Kamara, he's a lineup lock. It was a little bit concerning seeing his snaps and carries sort of get into a bit more of a timeshare situation last week. We saw a lot more Jamal Williams than we've seen earlier on in the season, and it did kind of work. I think that was sort of more of a product of Taysom Hill being out, and they're just sort of trying to save Alvin Kamara a bit. They didn't need to just let Alvin Kamara run wild in that game. They won pretty easily, even though Derek Carr played absolutely awful last week. But on top of that, Chris Olave, he's going to be a lineup lock. He played through an illness last week. Still got it done, came through with a touchdown. This is a much better matchup. The Giants give it up to opposing wide receivers at a super high rate. We've seen tons of fantasy success for opposing wide receivers, and honestly, Olave is probably still going to be the only healthy wide receiver in this offense. We might get Rashid Shaheed back this week, but I'm not expecting it. Obviously, Michael Thomas is going to stay on IR, so Chris Olave should be in line for a big game. Derek Carr should be healthier than he was last week as well. He honestly can't play much worse. So I'd expect Chris Olave to come through for you guys this week. And I think Olave is going to be a lineup lock. It's like a fringe top 15 wide receiver. Outside of that, Taysom Hill, he'd be a dart throw for me at the tight end position. Obviously not someone that I'm super excited in, given that he's coming off of an injury, didn't play last week. So I'd prefer to look elsewhere than Taysom Hill, but he's got a good shot to score. They probably will win this game pretty handily against the Giants. So I think you could play Taysom Hill, but you're really banking on a touchdown because outside of that, you're not going to get a whole lot of production. Next up, we got the Bears at the Browns. Starting off with the Bears, Justin Fields, he's going to be a low-end quarterback 1 for me. He has obviously performed a lot better since returning from his injury, but this is a really tough matchup. Cleveland at home. It's going to be a really brutal situation for Justin Fields to actually perform at a high level, and I think it'll be a good test for him in this Bears offense. I think you can play him. Obviously, he offers you a lot of upside with his rushing ability, gives you a relatively safe floor as well. But I think there is a world where this game ends up being super low scoring. I think we could see the Browns defense just really get after Justin Fields. He doesn't perform well under pressure. He takes a lot of sacks. Could probably turn the ball over a couple times. We could see the Bears offense really just struggle in this one. I think you're definitely playing the Browns defense, and I'd be really concerned about it. But I think you still can play Fields, but there's obviously a really wide range of outcomes for him. Outside of that, for the Bears running backs, I think I'd prefer to sit all of them if I can. We saw Deonta Foreman basically take over the lead role in that offense this last week, and even with that being said, I think this is a really low-scoring game. Like I've touched on, Deonta Foreman's not going to catch a lot of passes. You're basically banking on a rushing touchdown for Deonta Foreman. I don't know that the Bears score more than 2 touchdowns this week, so you're really hoping that Deonta Foreman gets one of those. If you play him, I would prefer to leave him on my bench, and I'm not going to play Roschon Johnson or Khalil Herbert. Deonta Foreman, though, he could be like a low-end running back play if you really need to, but I wouldn't be looking there unless you're in a deeper league. For the pass catchers for the Bears, DJ Moore and Kmet, they're going to be starters here. Obviously, Kmet and DJ Moore have been really awesome so far this season, especially with Justin Fields starting at quarterback. I do have tempered expectations for both those guys. Obviously, like I said, this should be a lower scoring game. This Browns defense is legit. So I think you're playing both of them. They're going to manufacture touches for DJ Moore. He'll do just fine, but there is a much lower ceiling for these guys than I think there is in some other weeks. For Cleveland, I'm really just not all excited about this. This Bears defense has been playing a lot better lately, especially since they acquired Montez Sweat. They've got a bit more of a pass rush. They did lose their other defensive end this last week to a broken ankle, so that sucks. He's going to be missing. But the Bears defense has been playing a lot better lately. They're not just the cakewalk of a matchup that they were early on in the season. So it's going to make Jerome Ford a low-end running back, too. He's like the running back 27 on the season at this point. Just very mediocre. You can play him. He's a low-end play. He'll probably get you between 10 and 12 fantasy points. You can live with that, but he's not going to win you your week, and obviously he's not going to lose it for you either in all likelihood. Amari Cooper, he'd be wide receiver 3 for me. Saw a ton of targets last week. Should have had a much better game if he didn't fumble. I think Amari Cooper's a really solid play, especially with the connection it seems like he and Joe Flacco have. David Njoku, he's probably a top 10 play for me as well. Like I said, I do think this is going to be a lower scoring game, but David Njoku's super involved. Had 91 receiving yards last week, 2 touchdowns. Best game of his career. He looks great. They're manufacturing touches for him close to the line of scrimmage. Njoku's probably in your lineups for sure. And then Joe Flacco, he's been mentioned quite a bit as a popular streaming option this week. I really just don't want to go there. I think this could be a lower passing volume game. I think there's a world that exists for the Browns to win this game relatively handily, get up early, maybe on a couple Bears turnovers, and then just run the ball quite a bit. And I think that's how they want to play football if they can. I just don't think you're going to see the 40 pass attempts that you've seen over the last couple of weeks. So I'd prefer to bench Joe Flacco, but you could stream him if you're in a really desperate situation and you lost Herbert or something, but I'd prefer not to. Next, we've got the Falcons at the Panthers. For the Falcons, I think it's pretty easy. Bijan Robinson, he's going to be a must-start. He's got an elite matchup here. The Panthers are a team that you can really run the ball effectively against, and he's finally getting that elite bell cow running back usage that we were hoping for out of the draft. So there's no way you're benching Bijan. He's a top 5 play for me this week. Drake London, he'd be a low-end flex play. It was really great to see him break out last week, catching 10 passes for 172 yards. We know he's got the talent to be an elite player, but I still think I'd prefer to be benching him this week. This is a game that the Falcons are going to probably win relatively easily. The Panthers are not a competitive team, and we know what the Falcons want to do if they can. That's run the ball and then run the ball some more, and you can do that against the Panthers. They're going to have a lot of success. I think Bijan Robinson goes for over 100 yards, and Tyler Algier even gets involved. I'm not playing Tyler Algier, but I wouldn't be shocked if he falls in the end zone this week either. I just don't want to really be invested in the pass catchers in this game because I don't think the Falcons are going to throw the ball a ton. So I think I also want to bench Kyle Pitts as well. Like obviously you can play both these guys. They've got a shot to come through on a big play, but just not excited about either one this week. For the Panthers, it's almost even grosser. I think I'm preferring, if I can, just to bench every single Panther this week. Chuba Hubbard, he's going to be a volume-dependent low-end running back too, but we did see Miles Sanders actually have a really big play last week. Looked a little bit better last week than he's looked so far this season. Miles Sanders did have 10-plus carries as well, so I think Chuba's probably going to see 15 to 20 touches. They'll be inefficient. He'll hope he catches a couple passes, hope he falls in the end zone. You can play him, but I wouldn't be excited about it. There's no way Chuba's going to win you your week. The Falcons are a really good run defense on the season, and it's just not something that I'm excited about. And then for the pass catchers, Adam Thielen, he'd be a low-end flex play. Hasn't really done much even since the bye. It just seems like he's slowed down. Jonathan Mingo's running a lot of routes as well. I don't think either one of them are things that I'm excited about. You could play them if you really need to as like desperation flex plays, but honestly, I just want to bench both of them. I'm not confident in either one. I don't want them ruining me in the fantasy playoffs. So I think it's Chuba if you need to, and then nobody else for the Panthers this week. Next, we've got the Buccaneers at the Panthers. For the Buccaneers, I think Rachaad White and Mike Evans are obviously going to be must-starts for you guys. Obviously, Mike Evans did come through with just a really brutal performance last week, caught 1 pass for 8 yards, and it obviously really sucked. A lot of people maybe needed him to come through to get themselves into the playoffs, but if you made it with him, I think you're just going to ride the hot hand. I know it was a rough week last week, but he's been awesome all season. He is the number 1 wide receiver in this offense. You can throw the ball really effectively against the Packers. I'm very confident that Mike Evans gets back on track this week, so I'm definitely playing Evans if you've got him. Chris Godwin, he's going to be a low-end flex play for me. We did see him be a lot more involved in this offense last week, and that's good to see, but this is still Mike Evans' wide receiver room. On top of that, Rachaad White's going to be super involved. I don't think the Buccaneers are going to score a ton of points, and Godwin still just hasn't been super fantasy relevant, so you can play him, but I just would prefer to keep him on my bench if I can. And then Cade Otton and Baker Mayfield, they're both low-end streaming options. You can throw the ball against the Packers, so you could stream Baker Mayfield, but I'm not super excited about it. I don't think there's much of a ceiling, and obviously the floor is very low. For the Packers, Jaden Reed, he's a wide receiver 3 for me. We're seeing the manufactured touches for him. He had 10 targets last week, had 4 carries as well. Just a really good player. I will note that we are still waiting for news on Aaron Jones and Christian Watson. I'm currently operating under the assumption that both of them are going to miss, but if Aaron Jones and Christian Watson are active, we would see very significantly different usage for Jaden Reed. I bet we'd see a lot less of those end arounds for Reed, given that Aaron Jones could be utilized in the same way, and then Christian Watson's obviously going to take away from that target share as well. So he's super necessary to the offense if both those guys are out, and that's why I'm excited about him. But if they do play, we do need to temper those expectations. And I will note as well that Jaden Reed is dealing with an ankle injury of his own. He popped up on the injury report today. Nothing to be concerned about, it sounds like, but they are on a bit of a shorter week, so just keep that in mind. I think you can still play him, but only with 6 days rest, it is something to keep in mind. Romeo Doubs, still low-end flex play as well. If there was a situation where maybe he is active and we end up without Reed and Christian Watson, I think we do need to keep that in mind. I will note that Wicks, their number 4 wide receiver, he's banged up with an ankle injury, probably going to miss this week. So there should be more targets to go around this entire offense. I think Keith will step in and be involved, but I think it's going to be Doubs and Jaden Reed as the only pass catchers that I'm really even looking at so far for the Packers this week. A.J. Dillon, he'd be a low-end running back play if Aaron Jones sits. Not a great matchup at all against the Buccaneers. They're a super good run defense. You're hoping for volume out of A.J. Dillon, so you can play him, but that's only if Aaron Jones is inactive. If Aaron Jones plays, I think I just want to sit both those guys. Not a very high floor for either one. They'll be limited in terms of their touches, and like I said, not going to be a very effective running game for the Packers this week. And then for the Packers, their quarterback, Jordan Love, he's a really solid streaming option this week. You can throw the ball against the Buccaneers really effectively. I think Jordan Love should have a really great week, and I think he's probably a top 12 option for me. So if you need a streamer, Jordan Love's a really great option this week. Next up, we've got the Jets at the Dolphins. The Jets, I think they're pretty easy. It's going to be Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and nobody else. Garrett Wilson's seeing a ton of targets. He's the focal point of the offense at this point. You're definitely playing him. And then Breece Hall, they're throwing a bunch of screen passes to him. He's always a threat to take one to the house. So both those guys are in your lineups, like a wide receiver 2 and a running back 2 respectively. Just got to be in your lineups. The Dolphins, though, they're a little bit trickier. Devon Achane popped up on the injury report with a toe injury. We do need to keep that in mind because obviously Achane's someone that we have seen miss a lot of time so far this season, so that's concerning. But for now, I don't think there's any real question marks surrounding his status for the game, but just keep that in mind. Tyreek Hill, he's dealing with an ankle injury. We saw that happen last week. He did come back into the game, but he's still dealing with a lot of pain. We'll see if he suits up in this one. My expectation is that both Achane and Tyreek will suit up, and if they're active, I think you're starting all of 4 of the main guys for the Dolphins: Tyreek, Waddle, Achane, and Mostert. Obviously, I prefer Tyreek to Waddle, and I prefer Mostert to Achane, especially if Achane's going to be banged up. But I do have low hopes for Jalen Waddle this week. It's a really tough matchup against the Jets. He's not really a focal point of the offense, and it just makes it really tough for me to trust Jalen Waddle on a week-to-week basis. But if Tyreek Hill were to be inactive, that would give Jalen Waddle a relatively high ceiling for me, so you're definitely playing Waddle. But just keep in mind you could be looking at a disappointing week for him. And then for Tua, I'm benching Tua. It's a really tough matchup against the Jets. You can't really move the ball effectively through the air, and you can run on them. So I think the Dolphins will get back to running the ball with Achane and Mostert quite a bit, and they should have a lot of success doing that. So I'm benching Tua, but obviously Tyreek and Waddle, they're too talented. They've got to be in your lineups. And the last game for this video, it's going to be the Chiefs at the Patriots. For the Chiefs, I think Travis Kelce is honestly the only must-start player, and isn't that just sort of a shocking thing to say that we really only have one must-start fantasy asset on the Chiefs offense? But it's just the reality right now. Patrick Mahomes is being outscored by plenty of mediocre quarterbacks. Like Sam Howell has more fantasy points than him on the entire season. It's just not a situation where Patrick Mahomes is a must-start. This matchup against the Patriots. The Patriots are not a very good offense by any means. We know that. Their defense is okay, so it's not a very exciting matchup for the opposing offense. And on top of that, I think the Chiefs will get up relatively easily, probably win the game handily, and just not need to lean on Patrick Mahomes. So I just don't think there's much of a ceiling for Mahomes this week. If it helps you guys at all, I am in one league where I have Patrick Mahomes. I'm in the playoffs. I've got a matchup this week, and I spent fab to pick up Matthew Stafford, and I'm playing Matthew Stafford over Patrick Mahomes. And even if I didn't get Matthew Stafford, I was probably going to play Sam Howell over him. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to start Patrick Mahomes. Like, you can look for better options this week. Rashee Rice, he's a wide receiver 3. He's been really involved lately. He's a talented player. I think you can start him for sure. And I think I just want to sit both the Kansas City running backs if Isaiah Pacheco misses. They split touches quite a bit. I can't confidently tell you which one would be the guy to get goal line work. We saw, obviously, Jerick McKinnon score the goal line touchdown last week, but I think we would see more CEH this week. But I think I just want to bench both of them. They could easily goose you this week, and it's just not something that I'd be excited about. For the Patriots, Ezekiel Elliott, he's a must-start player. He's going to see 20-plus carries, 5-plus targets. He's going to be in your fantasy lineup. He's probably going to volume his way to like a 3 or 4 yards per touch stat line, but maybe he falls in the end zone, should see enough volume that you're just starting him. And then outside of that, I don't think I want to look at any other Patriots. Hunter Henry would feel like you're just chasing the touchdowns, and Patriots wide receivers as well. Juju had a good week last week, but it could be Devonta Parker this week. It could be Demario Douglas. I can't confidently tell you which one to play, so I would just prefer to sit all of the Patriots wide receivers if I can this week. So that'll do it for part 2 of the start and sit videos this week. Up next tomorrow, you guys will get the remaining 6 games where I'll go over the remaining 6 matchups. But if you guys do have any specific start sit questions, just feel free to let me know in the comments. I'd love interacting with you guys, getting you guys your lineup set, and it should be a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys are finding these useful. If there are any players I didn't mention in the video as well, feel free to let me know. Happy to give you guys my opinion on everybody. I want to make sure that you guys are informed as possible and get you guys ready for the week. So I really appreciate you guys. Obviously, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do that. It'll help make sure you don't miss the next video as well. It'll help me help you and help me get you guys some fantasy championships this season. And on top of that, we've got a goal of 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're just over 970, so we just need like 30 more. We can get there. I'd really appreciate the support if we can. So appreciate all you guys, and good luck this week. And obviously, you got one more video before we get into the matchup. So good luck. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.